The hiss of percolating coffee on the stove, the slam of a heavy refrigerator door you could hear from the yard, the smell of something baking that meant you were home. If you grew up in America between the 50s and the 80s, the kitchen was the true heart of the house, and it was full of things you will never see in a kitchen again. Today, you and I are going to walk through that kitchen together, slowly, one corner at a time, until we found every last one of them. But stay with me right to the end, because in the last corner we'll reach, there's one drawer, you know exactly the one I mean, that every single American family had, that nobody could ever close all the way, and that somehow held the entire history of the household inside it. I'll open it with you when we get there. So settle in. Picture the kitchen you grew up in, the real one, the pattern on the floor, the light over the table, the chair that was always yours. Ready? Let's walk in. We start at the heart of it all, the stove. Right there against the wall, the big enameled range. And on the back of it, the thing no kitchen was without, the coffee percolator. Not a machine with a digital clock, a heavy metal pot that sat right on the burner and worked for its coffee. You'd hear it before you smelled it, that slow, rhythmic blurp as it perked, getting faster and louder as it came to life. And the little glass knob on the lid would go from clear to deep brown so you could watch it get stronger. Be honest, your father or your grandfather judged the strength of a whole morning by the color of that little glass bubble. There was a whole ritual to it, the pot filled the night before, set on the burner first thing, and the kitchen slowly filling with that smell while everyone was still half asleep. By the time you shuffled in, the percolator was the one thing in the house already wide awake, and the sound it made was the sound of the day officially beginning. And on the stovetop beside it, the cast iron skillet that was never, ever washed with soap, only wiped clean, and that your mother would have run back into a burning house to save. It had cooked 10,000 eggs, and it would cook 10,000 more. There was a rule about that pan. You did not touch it, you did not help by scrubbing it, and heaven help the new in-law who put it in the sink to soak. Some families are still using that exact same pan today, passed down like a piece of jewelry. But the percolator, with its patient morning song, that one we traded away for a button and a beep. Now turned to the counter, and the gadget bolted right to the edge of it. The hand crank can opener, screwed permanently onto the end of the counter or the table like it owned the place. You'd set the can up into its jaws, crank that handle around and feel it bite through the lid with a sound like nothing else. No batteries, no motor, just your own arm and a satisfying little workout before dinner. And when you were finally tall enough and strong enough to open the can yourself, all the way around without help, that was a quiet rite of passage in an American childhood. And right beside it, do you remember the bread box? That curved metal or plastic dome on the counter with the little door that rolled up and back where the loaf lived because nobody refrigerated bread. You lifted that door 1,000 times. It had its own particular squeak. And the smell when you opened it, warm yeast and a little bit of metal, is one your nose probably remembers better than your mind does. Look up, to the shelf above the sink. The metal canister set. A matching row of tins descending in size, in colors that could only be the 70s, harvest gold, avocado green, and each one stamped in cheerful letters, flour, sugar, coffee, tea. They weren't decoration. They were used every single day, dented and a little scratched from a decade of hands. Mom reached for the flour one without even looking, and tucked behind them, almost always, the little ceramic thing shaped like a chicken or a cow that held the scouring pads, and the windowsill jar of bacon grease. Yes, the bacon grease. A coffee can or a special little crock kept right by the stove, where the fat from every morning's bacon was poured to cool and saved, because that was the cooking oil for everything else that day. Potatoes fried in it, green beans cooked with a spoonful of it, cornbread started with it. Nothing was thrown away in that kitchen. Nothing. The bag the bread came in was washed and reused. The butter wrappers greased the cake pans. The slivers of soap were pressed into a new bar. That jar of saved grease tells you more about how our grandparents lived, through a depression that never really left their bones, than almost anything else in the room. Now to the table, and the centerpiece that was secretly a workhorse, the Lazy Susan. That spinning tray in the middle of the table that you and every sibling you had spun far faster than any adult ever intended. The salt and pepper, the napkin holder, the little dish of butter, all riding in a slow circle so nobody ever had to say, "Pass thee." It was the original family-style technology, and it squeaked as it turned. And under the whole thing, the tablecloth with the soft flannel backing, the one with the fruit pattern or the little roosters that was wiped down after every meal and lasted somehow for 15 years. Be truthful. There was a cigarette burn or a permanent stain somewhere on that tablecloth, and you knew exactly where it was, and the family had a story about how it got there. And this table was never just for eating. It was where homework got done under a hanging lamp, where bills got paid and worried over, where pie dough got rolled out on a dusting of flour, where the big decisions of the family got talked through late at night after the kids were supposed to be in bed. The kitchen table was the busiest piece of furniture in America, and almost nobody ever thought to take a photograph of it. Open the cabinet door and meet the dishes you only saw on holidays, the good dishes. The ones that lived on the top shelf in their own quilted zippered cases and came down exactly twice a year. You knew the holidays were truly coming when you heard them being carefully lifted down. And in the everyday cabinet below, the real stars, the Jadeite, that pale, milky green glassware, and the Pyrex mixing bowls in their nested set, the blue one, the red one, the yellow, the green, that every single American kitchen seemed to own the same exact set of. Those Pyrex bowls mixed every cake batter of your childhood. Your mother's hand fit the big one perfectly against her hip. And here's the thing that'll stop you. Those very same bowls, the ones that cost a couple of dollars at the 5 and dime, now sell to collectors for hundreds. The thing your family used without a second thought, we now keep behind glass, just like that curio cabinet from the living room. Before we leave the cabinets, turn to the giant in the corner, the refrigerator. Rounded at every edge in that same harvest gold or avocado green, with a big chrome handle you pulled, a real handle with a heavy mechanical ka-chunk, not a magnetic seal. You could hear that door close from the backyard, and the top of it was its own little world. The cereal boxes, the bread, a cookie tin, things that didn't fit anywhere else. The front was a gallery, every drawing you ever brought home from school, held up with magnets shaped like fruit, slowly yellowing in the kitchen light. And inside the door, the little aluminum ice trays with the metal lever you yanked up to crack the cubes loose, spraying ice and a little water across the counter every single time. No ice maker, just the lever, the crack, and the cubes that always tasted faintly of whatever was in the freezer. Look down at the floor and the chairs. The linoleum floor in a pattern that has not existed for 40 years. The speckled boomerangs, the fake brick, the black and white checkerboard that made the kitchen look like a diner. It was cold on your bare feet in the morning. It had one particular spot in front of the sink that was worn pale and thin from 10,000 times your mother stood in exactly that place. And pulled up to the table, the chrome and vinyl chairs, the ones with the shiny metal legs and the padded seats in red or turquoise that were freezing in winter, that stuck to your legs in summer, and that had a little split in the vinyl somewhere with the foam poking out that you picked at when dinner ran long. Now to the wall by the door, where the phone lived. The wall-mounted kitchen telephone and its impossibly long, curled cord. This was Command Central. Mom stood right here, cooking with one hand, the receiver tucked between her ear and her shoulder, the cord stretched across the entire kitchen as she paced, because this was the one phone where the whole family's life got organized. The cord started life as a tight little coil and ended up, after years of pulling, stretched out long and crooked with one section permanently kinked. You could wind your finger through it while you talked, and there was always exactly one person in the family who pulled it too far and yanked the whole phone off the wall. And underneath it, tacked to the wall or stuck to the fridge with a fruit-shaped magnet, the little notepad and the pencil on a string for taking down messages. Because if you weren't home, there was no other way. Somebody wrote it down, or it never happened. A missed call was simply a mystery you never solved. Be honest. There was a wall right here, Probably by the doorframe, with pencil marks and dates where they measured how tall you were getting. You backed up against it, heels flat, and someone laid a book on your head and made a line. And if your family ever moved out of that house, leaving those marks behind on the wall was one of the quietly hardest things about going. Open the drawer by the sink, the one full of things with no other home. Not the drawer yet, we're saving that one. This is the gadget drawer, and it was full of specific little tools that each did exactly one job: the nutcracker and the little picks, the egg beater, the hand crank kind, with the two whirring blades that took real effort and made real noise, the potato masher, the sifter you squeezed to rain flour down into the Pyrex bowl, and the meat grinder that clamped onto the counter edge that turned Sunday's roast into Monday's hash. Because again, nothing in this kitchen was ever wasted. Each of these did one thing, did it well, and lasted 30 years. Today, one machine does all of it and lasts about 3. Glance at the counter's far end, the cookie jar standing guard. The ceramic cookie jar, shaped like an apple or a smiling pig or a little cottage, sitting right out where everyone could see it, and everyone could hear it. Because that lid never came off silently. It gave a little ceramic clink that carried straight to wherever your mother was standing, which is exactly how she always knew. Getting into that jar without making the sound was a skill an American child spent years trying to master. You'd lift the lid a fraction at a time, holding your breath, and just when you thought you'd made it, clink. And from 2 rooms away, stay out of those cookies before dinner. She had ears like a bat in a cookie jar that betrayed you every time. Most of us never did master it, and beside it, the toaster, chrome with the rounded edges that reflected your whole face back at you, stretched and funny. The one that had 2 settings, not done and on fire. The one you had to stand over. We're almost there. But first, look at the window over the sink. The dish drainer and the curtains and the little colored glass bottles lined up on the sill catching the light. This was the spot where your mother spent more time than anywhere else in the house, standing at the sink, washing by hand, looking out the window at the backyard. There was no dishwasher. There was a person, usually her, and a dish towel, usually you. Drying dishes beside her at that window, talking about nothing, is a memory a whole generation shares without ever having planned to. And hanging right there, the kitchen calendar, free from the bank or the hardware store, with the big squares full of everyone's handwriting. Doctor's appointments, birthdays, the day school let out, the entire family's life, 1 month at a time, hanging from a nail. And now, the drawer I promised you at the very start. You know the one. Every kitchen had it, the junk drawer. Go ahead and open it in your mind. It sticks a little because it's too full to close properly. It never once closed all the way. And inside, everything. Rubber bands wound into a ball, dead batteries nobody was sure were dead. A single key to a lock that no longer existed. Matchbooks from a restaurant that closed in 1978, twist ties, a tape measure, half a deck of cards, the little booklet for an appliance you no longer owned, a screwdriver, loose change, a fortune from a fortune cookie that somebody thought was worth keeping. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos because every single person in that family knew, without being told, that if a thing had no other home in the entire house, it went in the drawer. The drawer was where the household kept its odds and ends, its just-in-cases, its someday I'll need this. And here's the truth of it. That drawer was the most honest place in the whole house. The living room was for guests. The good dishes were for show. But the junk drawer, that was the real family. A little messy, a little broken, holding on to things long past all reason, and absolutely impossible to close. You have one right now, don't you? In your kitchen, today. We never did stop keeping the drawer. So that's our kitchen. We walked all the way through it, and the coffee's gone cold on the stove. Now I want to hear about yours. Which one stopped you cold? The percolator's morning song? The jar of bacon grease by the stove? The height marks penciled on the doorframe? Tell me down in the comments. And tell me the one thing your kitchen had that we didn't name, because I read everyone, and I'm building the next room from your memories. If this brought even a little of it back, subscribe and come sit with us again. Next time, we're heading down the hall to the room nobody was allowed to play in, the formal living room that was saved for company that almost never came. We'll leave the light on for you.